It is Tuesday, and this is Trekland HQ, and we are live. The State Fair of Star Trek, Mission Chicago. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 for the big picture, clarity, and sanity in all things Star Trek. Hey, everybody. Here we are. It's another Tuesday. You hear me. I am on the downhill side of surviving, my throat anyway, Star Trek Mission Chicago. And I wonder if we may have some TTLers here in the live chat today who were there. It's going to be a fun day. I'm just going to recount what's going on. So welcome, everybody. Welcome back. It's a Tuesday. If you have found us here accidentally or you're new to Tuesdays Live, welcome. We have a great group in the chat. I will get to the chat. I'll even back scroll after I get off on a little soapbox here. Actually, today won't be so much a soapbox. It's kind of a here's what I did on my summer vacation. But we will have some news in the Parrot Analytics after I take a short little midway break. Some Parrot Analytics US ratings to talk about, as well as the chat for today. And I'll be repeating some of the news that we made and unleashed at Mission Chicago. So good to see everybody. We did survive. Even if my throat doesn't sound like it, this is actually better than it's been the last couple of days. Yeah, you want to call it con crud? I made the mistake of I went back east in winter without my throat and cough stuff. I could have nipped it in the bud Thursday, Friday, but I didn't. And there was no CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid close by, just little dinky markets that didn't have Afrin. They didn't have chloroseptic throat spray. They didn't have what I needed. So once my sinuses get activated from a hot cold situation, like back home, it's gone away in California. But anyway, this is the tail end, actually. So if you can put up with me, I can put up with it, okay? Hopefully it's not too grinding. Yeah, Dick, I see you there. Long time no see. Well, let's talk about this. So some of you in the chat may have been there. And if you were, please sound off. If you weren't, did you enjoy watching the streams come out? I haven't even checked to see what all got reported. Well, there's CBS, or excuse me, there's Paramount Plus officially recording and reporting, and then there's all kinds of morons trying to do live streams. Actually, I think I did 4 on Sunday afternoon. Wish I'd spread them out, but it's just hard to do that. And a couple more that I didn't get to, I'm going to have to wait until Vegas or until Comic-Con in San Diego. Looking at you, Kevin, and Hallmark. I couldn't believe it. Or excuse me, Pop-Minded. But no, let's talk about this. So yes, a lot of the world was curious to see what Reed Pop would do with their new license and with Star Trek. A lot of people were curious to see if they were there, how it would compare to the one-off they did for the 50th back in 2016, Mission New York. A lot of people were curious what would happen because this whole program has been delayed a year. This was all supposed to be announced, and the going away of Vegas's and of Creation's license was supposed to be announced ages ago, but the pandemic slowed everything down, and no one wanted to. Well, there was a dance between changing the licenses and the public perception and all that. So when this was all announced, it was really a year behind. People were frustrated or confused because they only saw 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 guests for ages. So I think people get the idea that this is, it was set up as more of a Comic-Con-ish official. I mean, there were the monkey stalls for all the signing actors, which I didn't even think of as the main part of the show. The main stage was large, but not as large as Vegas. The panel room, the whole thing was at the McCormick Center. Who knows what the McCormick Center was named for? Who it was? In Chicago. It was a dead part of Chicago where there was nothing around. You had to walk several blocks or take an Uber. So it was a little isolated that way, even though it was right in the middle of things. It was April, so it was coldish. In fact, it drizzled snow one day, drizzled rain the first day, and then was sunny Saturday and Sunday pretty much. But inside the hall, it was a convention center built more for trade shows than the modern convention centers you think of with San Diego and even Anaheim. So there weren't a lot of breakup rooms in proximity. You had to walk to everything. It reminded me a little bit, not quite as bad, but it reminds me a little bit of the halls that DST, the Destination Star Trek, the European licensee, are held in for the space and the European way of doing things. They just feel like a barn. They use so much corrugated sheet metal. This was like a barn if your barn was concrete block, cinder block. And I don't mean that in a negative way. There was lots of space. Now, some might say, why was there so much space? Well, the vendors were a little, I just think it was a learning curve for Reed in many ways. And I think a lot, I'm not faulting our CBS Paramount friends at all. I think there's a lot of here's what you need to do. And then a lot of, well, we're doing the best we can. And then we had COVID on top of all of this. And are we coming out? We're coming out. No, we're not. No, we're not. Now we are. No, we are. There's a lot of that uncertainty, which makes even this hard to judge. But so, everything went off. People enjoyed the hell out of the live panels. I think they were well produced. People could see. I won't go there. But the main content thrust for people coming to see the stage, lots of good panel success. I got to go see the Sid City group have a historic in live event. I think I Instagrammed or something about that a little bit. Maybe had a little short reel for Sid to come in and still have their big Zoom army on around the world with some about 30 people live in the room, which was awesome to see that. It was, I should say, they were lucky enough to have secured, having Sid's involvement, they secured an actual panel space. It was off duty, so it was open. Anybody else with a fan group was desperately trying to find bars that were open, places to congregate. The hotels, the Hyatt and the Marriott, weren't really in sync. You could tell they weren't used to fan-style conventions, which is always a learning curve. And you could tell they totally missed the boat by not having bars open on Sunday, because who hangs around on Sunday? Well, fans do, because they're flying on Monday. So that was a draw. And I also know from personal report that Reed was not oblivious to that. They were trying to get the Hyatt and the Marriott to be more accommodating with, have special restaurant and bar hours, and they hit brick walls until the managers saw it and then they scrambled. So they stayed open until 11:30, not 10 on Fridays. So that said, Reed was on top of it in many ways. Other ways, there were some miscommunications and falling short. And STO, Star Trek Online, Cryptic, had some signage and some space issues that didn't show up. They still had a corner. It wasn't as ballyhooed as much as it should have been. They were sharing. There was a gaming corner that didn't get the attention drawn to it, I think, as much as it should have been. We were fine. Terrace and I shared a booth. I've got news on that too. I'm kind of doing a big scan here of the area. We had plenty of space in the combination vendors room and display room. And if you saw my pans from upstairs of the room, you could see the signing booths, the Strange New Worlds display area, the skulls from Picard display area, and then all the different kinds of vendors and fan groups and podcasters. A lot of people had a lot of, so there was a lot of good stuff happening. It just took you a while to get from place to place to place. Sometimes you had to figure out where the panel rooms were. There were 3 panel rooms. Could they have had more rooms? I'm sure they could have. Again, there was a lot of just uncertainty. People trying to figure out what Reed was going to be. Reed trying to figure out what Reed was going to be with this. The new interaction between the studio and everything under the cloud of delay and the COVID and where things would be by then. And then the situation of that was the space they wound up with, and then what it was like for the fan experience outside. So it was really interesting. The overall that I did not realize, and we kept hearing over and over again, and the ripple effects this had, I would say over a third, maybe even a half of the attendees, at least the ones that came by my booth or that I heard from say Lou and John at Fansets, or Star Trek Wines, Spencer at Star Trek Wines, or some of the regulars. was that the people coming up to booths, attendees, a third, maybe even as much as a half of the folks were from Chicago, Detroit, the Twin Cities, downstate, over to St. Louis, Kansas City, Kentucky, like Louisville, which doesn't surprise me, except the fact that it felt like a regional convention. And I'm not knocking the show, the Paramount and the Reed show. I'm just saying, I think the perception to a lot of people, I don't think it played as a national, this is the national annual licensed Star Trek convention. Not that anybody cared, but there was very much a mentality of awareness. A lot of people from Detroit, Chicago, excuse me, guys. A lot of people from that, I don't think they got it. And not that that mattered, but it was like, oh, I heard there was a convention in town this year. And they sure had a lot of guests. It's not like the last time Creation was here in 07 and they had, it was the old model. I don't think that really soaked into a lot of people. And they were like, oh, well, how nice. We finally got a convention back. There was no big picture awareness. But that was fine. For one thing, that meant there were a lot of hungry fans, or maybe they'd gone to, sci-fis and Comic-Cons and things. But to see an all-Trek convention was new, which meant that a lot of those folks were very fresh. All the vendors, licensees were really thrilled. But you could see, how do I say this? There was a sweet innocence and a lack of savviness, a naivete, and I'm saying that for all the good reasons, which made everything fresh for them. And for those folks, the show was, wow, this is awesome. And we've got some, I had a lot of folks from Vegas, from Comic-Con World, who said, wow, there's so much space here. We're not all crammed in. And, the answer to that is, well, it wasn't supposed to be quite this spacious, but okay. So then you had folks that were, it was too far, this, that, and the other thing, the fine point. So it was a range of expectations. It was not a bomb. It was not a blow up. It was not it was not a con of wrath by any means. What was surprising was just what the ramifications. The vendors loved all those people fresh because every little thing was eye-opening, amazing. You could tell a lot of that fandom that was local was not online. They weren't keeping up with the news. I had people coming by that didn't know about Strange New Worlds, or they didn't know about Prodigy. I mean, there are a lot of people that vaguely knew there was it was a big range. Now, I'm not saying that was most folks, but there was, at least by the time they got to me firsthand, I'm going to say a quarter to a third of those that I talked to, on some level, were new to some aspect of the whole modern Star Trek machine, which was awesome. Which, if you think about it, was what is a convention for? And a lot of the folks behind the booths are saying that, the show is not so much about selling a ton, or it's meeting new fans and actually then getting in touch with each other. It was a good, Thomas the Cat, Thomas from Star Trek Online was saying, it's maybe their gaming area wasn't the biggest and most ballyhooed, but a lot of people came over. A lot of people didn't know. They had a lot of fresh fans trying out STO for the first time. He said, but the main thing is checking in with you guys, pointing it, around the vendor's room and seeing what's up. And, especially, yes, Vegas, but Vegas wasn't really the official show. And part of what that means is not just the studio is bringing in the Skull collection. It also means that the licensees are there and they're all comparing notes. Sometimes they're comparing notes on their licensing daddy. but that's that feel. So, it's going on several levels. But I think everybody that was there, the biggest complaint literally was about how hard-headed and how distant and cut off we were from a lot of, eateries and night spots. And at the same time, how hard-headed the hotels had been and clueless about being ready for it. And it's the oldest rule in fandom and con going, that no hotel gets fandom until they see it. You could talk to your blue in the face. No, people want to sit here all night and not go anywhere else. They want to walk as little as possible, plop, and talk. This is not doctors. It's not pharmacy reps. It's not accountants. They leave. They're headed for the steakhouses and the strip clubs. Fans don't do that. You will make cargo loads full of moolah if you would just keep it open. So that's my biggest takeaway. Aside from the logistics of people being able to get to places, that it was really sweet in a way that we had so many starry-eyed, eagle-eyed people, and I think sometimes they didn't quite get what Terrace and I were selling. The tours in Portal 47 and even our podcasts. We had lots of people who weren't very podcasty live stream savvy, and that was fine. That's their first con in 20 years, 15 years, and we're educating them. We're getting them caught up, and that's awesome too. The downside of this whole model, though, is, as you may have heard, the next official licensed Star Trek convention with Reed Pop on the hop around model is going to be in Seattle. And I love that convention center. I know it well from the years I went to Emerald City Comic Con 4 or 5 years in a row back 10 years ago. And that downtown will not be the same. That downtown will feel like New York or San Francisco's downtown. There are lots of eateries and night spots and bars to get to. That won't be that issue, but it's a new place. And all the lessons we learned around McCormick Place there, maybe in a few years it will cycle back. But for right now, all that we invested in back there is pointless, unless you just like going to Chicago conventions of different stripes, and now you've learned. Now you know. But for Star Trek World, it's on to Seattle. Meanwhile, Vegas is still happening as it is, and a lot of people prefer that. They don't miss the licensed trappings. They like the layout. It'll be in Bally's, not the Rio. Will it get back to the Rio? Will the Rio be the Rio when it's finished remodeling? We don't know. There's senior apartments going in. What would they do with all that facility space, though? The facility space will still be worth something. So we'll see. All those future questions. This is such a weird, flexy year coming out of the pandemic and knowing what our Star Trek sites are doing. But we finally got one step ahead. We saw what a Reed Pop looked like at the McCormick Center. By the way, McCormick Center, named for Cyrus McCormick, the inventor of the reaping machine, which revolutionized farming in the 1800s, mid-1800s, right? And was the first wave of automated mechanized farming, which blah, 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 Farm Belt, America, breadbasket of the world, up to Canada, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, thank you, Cyrus McCormick, for the not-so-grim Reaper. Yeah. So what did you guys... I'd like to hear what everybody at home thought and how you got news coming out of Chicago and what you thought about it, what the experience was for you. Because let me share this. One of the biggest headlines of Chicago for us was we finally got to announce this. Can you see? Can you see? This is our finally where Terrace at Geek Nation Tours and I are offering, finally for the first time since 2016, I can't believe it. Of course, 2 years of that was COVID. Our next big film site tour, which will be LA and San Francisco, and not until July 2023. So plenty of time to save up your pennies. And we're adding more. This is about half of the celebrities we're going to be adding to it, actors and creatives. So it's going to be 10 days in July. It'll have a price tag. It's not up yet. He's about a week away from pricing it. But you want to look for that. If you start saving now, I'm sure you can get to it. I'm excited for that. It's small. It's a maximum of 20 people. We need 12 to make, so it'll only be between 12 and 20 people. So we'll hit all the major things. Now, on the other end of the scale, what I do with Trekland Treks, right? One other Geek Nation tour. If you are Vegas bound, you want to make sure and hit the one-day Valley of Fire tour, which is up now. We've done this several times before. We go out to where Kirk died, in Generations, and a few other extras, which are Star Trek related for fun, some surprises. Love to have you along. This is usually 6 to 12 people. There's a lunch. We leave early. It's this Con Eve day. We will leave at 7 a.m. on the day before and get back at 2, with the last 2 hours on the van and under a lunch pavilion for lunch last. So if you're interested, that's at geeknationtours.com. Over here in the Trekland Treks house, you've heard me talk about this. In August, the weekend before Vegas, but not by plan, this is Gene's birthday weekend on the 19th. This is the Saturday and Sunday of his birthday weekend to end the Centennial Tour, the tour I wanted to do last year, but we held back for COVID and COVID hesitation. I'm calling it the Great Birds, the Gene Life Tour, the GR Life Tour, GR100. We're going to go to 2 days, several sites, pass by and stop at his birthplaces, his growing up, his early married, his early workplaces, an LAPD stop. We're going to be talking about the LA that he grew up in Gene's world, and the influences on him. And yes, Rod is going to be part of it for at least the part around his own life. So we may have some other guests coming along, but this is quick. This is August, and it is now up. You can go to LarryNemechek.com. There's a little link at the very top of the page. Like if this is the web page, it's up here. I haven't finished doing the page because I did some of this on the run in Chicago, but the page is up and the button is up there. We have $100 off a night at the Hollywood Roosevelt. You don't have to stay there. The tour will start at the Hollywood Roosevelt both days, the van, the minibus, whatever we wind up having, and that will go around. We'll leave from there. You're welcome to join us from wherever, but I do have $100 off if you want to do double duty. The nights will be yours because we won't know where people are coming from, but we'll have at least one get-together dinner that night, okay? That's happening. And then I haven't got the paperwork done on it yet, but the day before the cruise leaves, next February, I'm going to have an LA Away Days set schedule tour, regular film sites around Trek for all the folks who've never had a chance to do that. We'll have a one-day Treks tour. Then, if you are coming or staying in LA around that, even longer, I'm open to doing our regular Trekland Treks customized day tours then. So not the day before disembarkation, but the day after, or the day before leaving. If you're in town for a while, taking some extra days, I'd be happy to talk to you and set something up the way we do in Trekland Treks, okay? So that's that's 4 ways. That's 4 ways to tour Trek sites. And again, none of that takes away from James and Company's excellent Star Trek tours. It's a stage set tour or ship tour, actually, up there in New. So don't confuse the two. I do nothing indoors, or at least indoors that looks anything like the Federation or Klingon Empire or anything. Very much Earth of the 21st century. That's going on. So I'm going to be right back very quickly here. We'll get to the chat, the parrots in just a second. I do want to thank our Patreons. We seem to be growing. So yay. Thank you to our TTLers, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, and Blaze K. And of course, our live wires, Rusty Harrell from the very beginning there, Halberd Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoense, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, who I got to meet this last weekend. Gay, I'm still not used to saying your name automatically. Gay, Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shefsky. Thanks so much, everybody. If you want to be a Patreon, it's very simple. I keep it small. It's just $5 and $10 a month. Nothing complicated. Thanks for helping everything with Trekland and Tuesdays Live on the live stream. It's just patreon.com/Trekland Live. You can find a lot of other ones there you might want to support too. Every month they take it out. It's very easy. Hey, this week, you'll hear my croaky voice this week on the Trek Files when we're not talking from my interview with Ralph Sininsky last year, who's about to turn 99 and still with us. Directed 7 great original series episodes. We're talking about one of them this week. Is there in truth no beauty? And the little-known wacky moment when maybe the first echo of debate over product placement reared its ugly head. Yeah, I know. And is there a truth, no beauty? You want to hear it? It's the Trek Files this week. You can find it anywhere. If you go to the Facebook page, that's where we actually have the documents, as we do every week. So thanks there. Everywhere else, hey, it's just Larry Nemechuk on Twitter. It's Larry Nemechuk's Trekland, as you're watching right now, and on Instagram. And I put a ton of stuff on Instagram and over too, but a lot of fun stuff on Instagram from Mission Chicago, and I'll have some more to come too, okay? Portal47.net is where you can jump in and have a mini con all year long. It was great. We had our Portal 47 live dive on Sunday without the help of bars. It was the driest live dive we've ever had for members meeting up at a con, but we did get the picture taken. We only missed one person. And sorry, Linda, we didn't communicate around for some reason, but it was great to see everybody and meet some folks for the first time. And I bet some of them are in the chat today, so I'll save that for that. If you're watching right now, later on YouTube, you really ought to try to join us live on Tuesday. We've got the chat audience that you don't see when you're watching later. And if you can, I know Tuesday afternoon's a hard thing to get in for if you're in the States. But if you can sneak it at work, if you're ever got a day off on a Tuesday, love to have you with us. All right. That is it for now. Hold on. I'm going to just take a short break and be right back. But as always, I had people suspiciously looking at me as I sneezed and croaked up a little bit this weekend. So you know what? It was just the sinus cycle. But I'm telling you, please, please, please stay healthy, do all the things. Stay woke, check the sources you're dealing with first. And hopefully we will all trek well. All righty. The parrots. Well, guess what, everybody? Those of you watching constantly, the weekly roundup did not go away. Nope. They suddenly reappeared. There must be one person at Parrot Analytics that does that, and they were on vacation for 2 weeks, because I had thought I'd looked, but no, one for April 1st popped up. Fools. And now the week ending April 8th is back up. So the top 10 are still here. Guess what? We're going to look at the digital originals. I'm just going to come out and say it. Picard was number 5. I don't think Picard ever made the top 10 in the U.S. on the Parrot Analytics scale in season 1. And Discovery was rarely that high over the years. But yes, and we're talking here, if you're new, Parrot Analytics, a company that's been around for 10, 12 years now out of New Zealand. They came up with a metric called average demand expressions. They're just getting it from the internet to measure popularity of the streaming shows as well as the broadcasting cable, because, you know, those numbers are secret. Not the old days with the Nielsen ratings for ad rates for commercials. It's all moot. So, I mean, that still goes on, but not in this world. So yes, so we've been following since the beginning of Discovery. Excuse me, guys. And anyway, this week, number 1 show was Bridgerton of the Digitals. It was 46.8 times more popular than an average show, air quotes. All of these are in Parrot's exceptional or outstanding category. Excuse me again. So we got Bridgerton. Our Flag Means Death, which has been a surprise show. The pirate thing. Have you watched it? Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, and Picard in at 34.5 times more popular than an average show. Then Moon Knight, Titans, The Witcher, Young Justice, and Ted Lasso. That's the top 10. Now, in the overalls, that is, by the way, Picard, that is a 7% increase over last week, but it was still the one we didn't cover. I overlooked somehow, or it was late, whatever. It was in 5th place last week, but that's 7% more than it was a week ago. And they're talking about it maybe being a surge from now until the season ends on April 21st. So we'll watch in Parrot World. We'll see how that goes. Overall, there was only one. Bridgerton was the only one that cracked the top 10 of everybody. It was number 6. So SpongeBob is still number 1 here. Then SNL, The Walking Dead, Attack on Titan, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Sesame Street, South Park, The Simpsons, and Outlander round out the top 10 of the everything, the not just digitals. So remember that. So Picard was 34.5. The overalls ended up at 39.8. So only one digital made it. In fact, Our Flag Means Death would have been one notch below that. Yeah. So Picard was definitely in the top 20 overall, maybe even the top 15. Not sure about that, but at least the top 10. Yes, the trending line, if it's at 35 this week, here's what's revealing. Looking at it's 34.5 this week. The trend line for 30 days was 30.6, which means that trend is up, right? The demand is up 92.3%. The trend line is definitely holding steady and tipping up on Picard. A couple of the other shows, Prodigy is at 12.5%. No new Prodigy episodes. It's still in the outstanding upper 2.5%, though, the way. The demand is dropping, but it's not dropping like a rock. The 60-day trend line actually is up somehow. Now, here's the fun one. Strange New Worlds, which was a big part of Mission Chicago, they're still weeks away from airing, but the buzz, they're in the good category. They're at 6.6%. They're up 91. The trend line, can you see this? There's the trend buzz line. Oh, come on. Boom. 60 days. Do you see there at the end? This is the 60-day trend, up from nothing, up, hump, down, and up. So that's going to do nothing but go up and up and up over. That's their 60-day trend line. So Strange New Worlds is doing just fine. Did you all see the trailers and all of that? Let's dive into the chat. So that's it for the parrots. We'll have our weeklies after all. Yada yada. And now I am scrolling back, taking a sip. I might even blow my nose. That would be gross, wouldn't it? But now we're out of the YouTube live, the YouTube later section. And I'm scrolling back. Am I allowed to do this? Haha. That will buy me another half hour anyway. So, hey, everybody, let's see if you've got a comment, especially about Chicago Mission or anything else, obviously. Always looking for the questions. Yeah, so Justin, I don't think of it as con crud. It's not con crud. I rarely get con crud. But this was a case of the minute I stepped out of O'Hare, where I'd never been before. I'd never been to Chicago except for standing in O'Hare Airport. So this was a first for me. I didn't get to do the Bob Newhart tour, though. That's still on my bucket list. But I knew the minute I got out of the airport, didn't have heavy anything on, and my throat started to tickle. And it was like, oh, it's going to do the throat up into the head and back to the throat. And I didn't bring anything with me. I was just stupid. Should have known. Chicago in winter, I should have done that back east. So I don't call this con crud. I don't think there was really a con crud outbreak, but I guess we'll see. Biggest thing was that it wasn't COVID. That was the other thing I didn't mention. Cook County, Illinois, whatever, does not have a mask mandate, but fully half of the attendees were masking for whatever good. I guess it did them good. Half of the show was not masking. And of course, anytime you went anywhere at night, people were giving up the on and off again thing. So it's yeah, it's that way. Hey, Adam, good to see you. Hey, Anne Marie. Yes. It was a fun weekend. Um, yeah, Dick, we finally met. Dick is one of our Portales that had joined from Wisconsin, and we finally got to meet. I haven't run our picture yet, Dick, but we will. Long time no see. Absolutely. It was fun. You and your son. Uh, as I've explained, Brian, no, not convid. Not at all. Hey, Jerome. Greetings from Oklahoma SoonerCon. I know, live SoonerCon. I am so looking forward to being at SoonerCon. It's the end of June. Even if you don't live in Oklahoma, you should, if you're surrounding or you want to fly around, you should get there. SoonerCon is a lot of fun, and it's going to be very special. And there are going to be some Trek-related guests besides moi that I just found out about last weekend. I don't know if they've been announced yet, so I don't want to say anything, but I was very tickled. And it was actually a project of mine for a while, and it's just going to be it's going to be a great, great, great year at SoonerCon. Well, I guess I can say they 10 years ago, they started basically an Oklahoma Sci-Fi Hall of Fame. It's the Oklahoma Speculative Fiction Hall of Fame. C.J. Sherry, the science fiction author, Hugo Award winning, was one of the first recipients. You may know her. So good group. It's Oklahoma born or Oklahoma connected people in any aspect of speculative fiction. I like the way they did that. And they're a nonprofit, and it's the adjunct of SoonerCon, but they support literacy and reading and all the arts. And from C.J. Sherry to Count Gregor, who was the local horror movie theater host on Channel 4 and Channel 5 for ages, and chiller theater and horror theater and all of that. And now me. Go figure. Yeah. It's an august company, and I'm going to be very tickled. And I'll actually have family. And actually, Janet's going to go. So anyway, but very good to see you, Jerome. Let's see. Wait, what? What? You're what? Really? Okay. I guess I'll see you at SoonerCon then, Brian. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. The Lower Decks panel was so much fun. Yes, and I hope it dawned on me halfway through. Wait a minute. Is this the first time a Star Trek cast group has come on stage at a convention in their uniforms? Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, everybody else works in those uniforms. I can just see Brent and LeVar and Marina coming out in next gen thing. No, that's not going to happen. But it was a novelty for voice actors. They're having fun just seeing each other, much less, So it was a huge moment, and giving the Tom Paris plate to Boimler, to Jack was a lot of fun too. Oh no, Christoph, you are you're almost the last one in your circle without COVID. Okay, there you go. No, we've established that Larry does not have COVID. Fact, everybody, I meant to say this. I took a test last night. See? Because the onset of whatever this was happened on Thursday. I had enough days down. I had to prove it to the missus that I didn't either. No, it was not as crowded as STLV. It was COVID STLV in last year. It was a lot less attendance than a normal Vegas, and pandemic Vegas, which was about half size. I'm saying it was either about the same or a little more. They were saying 8,000 was what they expected. I don't know if they made 8,000, maybe more like 5. We'll see. They're always, all the event promoters are loosey-goosey about numbers that way. They were hoping for 10. If nothing else, I think a lot of the COVID residual was hanging over in travel, was hanging over people. As the years go by, it'll be interesting to see what happens. What the word of mouth is out of here coming to next year, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Vegas, and if that sustains, or if there's some big blow up at Bally's, or if Bally's knocks it into the stratosphere. We'll see. Christoph, I'm ashamed of you. Where's Norman? Oh, where's Norman? Where's my phone? Oh, well, forget it. Jeez. I can't. How did that happen? Boomer sooner, babies, all I'll say. I forgive you, though, being Austrian. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, hi, Mary. You were at Sid City. You were very entertaining when you were suddenly filling in for Sid at his fan club. I hadn't heard the story of him left alone at a con before. At a creation, because the con was just the guy in the cash box and maybe his girlfriend or something. I mean, that's the way the old creation, dealer room and the not dealer room, the creation chain store, local strip mall feeling cons of when they would do 5 or 6 around the country every single weekend. That business model was pay one guy and his plane ticket and rent 2 rooms at a hotel and then pay the actor. And then you got all the revenue from the dealers. And you would go into towns where they had nothing and they were so thrilled. You'd go into Wichita and you'd go into, I don't know, Des Moines, and you'd go into whatever. And people were thrilled and you'd get 400 or 500 people. And they made that model work. But they, totally left Sid behind. And that's why he was crass at creation ever since after that. So, Mary, you were there. Yeah. I was just going to go by to see what it was like. And I felt bad because I had stood Mel and everybody up about a year ago when I had double booked and I didn't remember and I didn't have it on my calendar yet. We had to record a Trek Files, I think. And I didn't realize it. And she came over and said, would you mind? Sid's running late. Would you mind coming up and maybe just telling a couple of Sid stories or something? I said, oh, sure. And then it turned into what, 30 minutes? It was all good. A lot of fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So if it came off well, then yay. All righty. As I said, it was creation, and it was in the night. It was when the DS9 was happening. It was a Sunday evening. He had to be on stage at 8 the next morning. It was a Monday morning call, and he was terrified about missing his plane, and he had to rely on a fan to get him to the airport, which it's young Sid, and it was probably, the audience was probably 3/4 female, and he didn't want to have an out of control spastic fan moment. So there you go. All right. Permanently, huh, Brian? Okay, permanently for now. There we go. Now, what are you saying here? Oh, Mary, you're not even, okay. You're in Milwaukee, but you knew. See, there you go. Las Vegas is much more comfortable. Well, there you go. Oh, no, I did not hear that Gilbert Gottfried died today. I just always think of the first replacement SNL cast, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Gilbert Gottfried and Charles Rocket. That first replacement cast that were so booed and roundly criticized, and Eddie Murphy came along late in that and was about the only one to survive into the next year. That was before he screamed everything, was the grouchy old guy. Yes. And Sid was about the only, Zahir, you're saying wish you'd gone. Sid was about the only, I never did get over to the signing side. And Sid was about the only actor I saw all weekend. I kept meaning to go over. I finally Sunday made the rounds about the time the signing slots were dead. But yeah, that was the only one I actually. It had been, I guess, 4 years. I saw him at the DST when they debuted the DS9. He and Nana then. which was a downside. I didn't go around and say hi or meet some of the new folks, but we were busy doing business stuff, trying to. Hey, Toddy. Yes, met you. I met a lot of folks for the first time after Dick was one of them. Toddy. Yep. Hey, Lou from Fansets is in the house. Everybody, awesome. You should see the live stream I did with him. It's only on my Facebook page now. I'm going to get it on YouTube. But they have this incredible. Oh, Lou, I don't have it handy. They have an incredible mechanized. You can have a flat magnet ship and dedication plaque, and you can either put it on your fridge, whatever, or you can bend it and it becomes a stand up, and you can put them on a shelf. It's amazing. Much less all the new realm of pins that are coming out. Yeah, go check out fansets.com. Good to see you, Lou. Good to see you. I hope you're home safe by now, Tuesday. Yes, not all the current licensees showed up, but you were there and you were glad you did. Hey, speaking of people I met for the first time, Daniel was another one after all this time. Well, Dan, was that the first con you've been to since the 80s and 90s? Because, yeah, they are organized differently. This is a very Comic-Con feeling one, and it was very European feeling. And the fact that so much was in one room made it a little barnier feeling, and maybe even emphasized that more than it would have if they'd just been in, separate rooms that you had to travel to. If the signing had all been in one room and the museum had been in another and the vendors had been in one or two, having it all in one was easy and nice for doing a pan, but the feel was a little bit different. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, Carl Stark, what are you saying here? I saw the official vendors that you had on your live stream. Were there other vendors there? I'm wondering what to expect. Yeah, there were a lot. I mean, did you see the pan? I think it's on my Instagram and maybe also Facebook. I did pans of the whole room, from the signing tables with the museums in front and over to the vendors. And the vendors were everything from licensees to some just random retail places to the podcasters to Terrace and me. And there was a game area that no one knew was a game area until you got over there. Yeah. What are you saying here, Christoph? Mission Chicago wasn't nice. Should we defer Port tomorrow? Oh, Christoph, I have to tell you, I made a big mistake, and Portal 47 Euro will be a week later. I have to tell everybody. European Ask Dr. Trek will be a week later. This is for the Portales. I haven't got the email sent out yet. I'm still been recovering. Yes, ocean air in May, better weather. Absolutely. It'll still be misty, but it won't be, it was a heat wave in LA. We went from 90 or 95 when I got on the plane to, 35 or 40 in Chicago. And not that either one of those is horrible, but it's the extreme in one day. And I have a thin nose and thin sinuses, and it's taken me a lifetime to figure that out. But it's going to be a week later anyway, but not because of this. I'm going to be very busy tomorrow. I need my strength. There was a bit of a fan desert, but I loved the conversations we had. JR, were you at Chicago? Did we talk? Am I? Yes. Thank you, Lou. More kids than Vegas, which was interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but yes, you're right. I think that Lou, I think that gets back to the whole, it felt like a regional local con and people just drove 3 hours and drove, 2 hours in and 2 hours out. It wasn't a big, I'm going to fly there, and well, there was, but for a lot of people, it just came off as, oh, here we got a Star Trek con in Chicago again, finally. There wasn't the big picture awareness of what it was. And there doesn't need to be. Yeah. So apparently, Toddy, what happened was they were told and didn't believe it. So they could not convince them. But I can tell you what, the fat poor people sure were appreciative. Sunday night, I finally said, the reason you have 100 people in here for 5 hours is because the Hyatt bar was totally shut down on Saturday. Bar and restaurant. People wanted to eat. I ate, finally. Yeah, there might have been a wow, JR, please tell me we talked and I'm just snoozing on it. Felt just like Mission New York. Well, Lou, I wasn't there, but I was told that Mission New York was even more separated and more distant at the Javits Center, and that was a function of the Javits Center layout. It wasn't built for Trek type events, sci-fi cons, and that there was even more walking, underfilled space that walking. But if that was the same thing, then now I have a better image of what Mission New York was like. Hey, Ben. Wow, good to see you, man. Another Portale, another old friend with the podcast there. Yeah, don't blame you. I think COVID, no matter what you thought about people and places and all of that and who's doing what, I think COVID was still an overarching concern for a lot of people. No one wants to be the last guy to die in COVID nom. Nope. Yeah, you noticed that, John. They caught up. I don't know if they did those missing weeks or just skipped them, but I saw they did at least the last one. Oh, well, thank you, Glenn. That's an awesome responsibility to bear. Well, there you go. More Star Trek cons in Chicago. What Creation used to do them, and apparently the last one really was like 07, 08, maybe. Daniel, you're speaking the bane here of everybody. But Star Trek cons cost money if you're going to have any amount of guests past 1 or 2 or 3. If you want the whole, we fill up the sheet, that's a lot of overhead. Even when you're putting the bonus, the onus on the fans, you have to know what the realistic outcome is, what the turnout's going to be, so you can base the deals for their signing on it. Oh, that's the spirit, Ben. There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Rebecca. Little better pop and say hi to everybody before your phone dies. Thank you for jumping in. Did you hear just so you hear, European ADT for the Portales is going to be a week later. I have a tour tomorrow that I booked 3 weeks ago. And I, with all this hoo-ha about Chicago, I did not put 2 and 2 together. Yes, there is a Star Trek cruise in February 2023. This day that I'm about to announce will be for the day before it disembarks. Yes, indeed. What are we saying here? Christoph, the mission from home experience mostly following lower decks tweets and your Facebook lives. Also surprised by the small room Dr. Aaron had to talk in and waiting for a big announcement, but nothing. Well, there were a couple of things in the live panels. Lower Decks showed a scene from later. Strange New Worlds showed the first scene on the bridge. Has that been out publicly yet? That may come later. I mean, people got treats. So just because it hasn't been out, may not have been. Dr. Aaron, all the panel rooms, they weren't huge. They held about some of the panel, the LG, what the LGBTQ concerns room was over full. Several of the a couple of the other ones were very full also. I didn't see what everybody had. And sometimes people, as usual, were up against something huge. She may have been up against the lower decks. So the Prodigy main room panel was only about half full, which was sad. It was awesome. But the lower decks and the Strange New Worlds rooms were wall to wall. Whatever those rooms held, 1,500 people, 2,000, I don't know. So the big announcements may still be coming, I'll just say. So, okay, there you go. Well, I hope you saw some of my posts and fields. Everybody's saying this. Well, maybe it will be following very quickly. We'll see. It was interesting how they had all the Strange New Worlds build up beforehand. Maybe that was so they could talk about it more easily. I don't know. Not sure what you're talking about, Melanie, but from Modesto, but who knows? The cruise next year, by the way, leaves from LA, not from Florida, which is another wrinkle. Hey, Dave, it's good to see you also. Another one that we finally met up with. So, yeah. So thanks for being a Portale. I mean, thanks for being a Patreoner. You're free to be a Portale too, Dave. Yeah, a lot of the big announcements or bricks in the wall came before Chicago to set it up. Let's see. Oh, could have skipped this week. See, that's it. This is the thing. I don't have I mean, I feel fine. I feel fine. It's just annoying that I have to talk through this nose right now, like right here. But that's why I get it, and I know my body. I still have to convince my wife sometimes, but I know my body. Well, yes, it would have been. Yes, exactly. That's what happened, though. But never count out this week. This week still has to proceed. Let's see. How are we doing here? Yeah, this is it. Hi, Marina. Speaking of recent faces, Prodigy showed the exclusive clip. See, I didn't think about these, but yes, you're poking me. Strangers showed an exclusive clip. All under embargo, not allowed to be. Put your cameras down. I remember Anson saying, Captain Pike telling the audience. Now, I did a tape right before they clipped it. I wanted to show the room being packed and him talking. And he says, and take it away. And I cut right then. Was not escorted out of the room. And the kids, there were 5 or 6 kids, I should say this. There were 5 or 6 kids in the Prodigy Q&A line. The room was half full, and they were all 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They were awesome. They were some of the best questions. Hey, Rocco. Yeah, imagine that. We did. Did we selfie? You have to remind me if we did. If you did, share it, because I don't know that I did myself. Captain Calvin, what did I think about the 6th episode of Picard season 2? The 34 minutes before thing was old? Not in Star Trek. With the exception maybe of, I think, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad, the Harry Mudd time loop, early episode of Discovery. I can't remember if they used the titles. And I think it was chronological, but didn't loop until it started looping. But it was new to Star Trek. That's all I'm going to say. So critical. It was old. Was it what? They didn't do that. Did they do that in 2005? They do that in 1992? Now that would be old. Yeah. Well, good advice all around, Melanie. No, I don't have con crud. This is me going to Chicago without earmuffs on when I got out of the airport. It was probably inevitable. I just am mad that I didn't have the stuff to knock it down on Thursday and Friday. And now I'm going to have to cycle through for a few days. And I can't remember the last time I had the real con crud. Clueless people, Marina. I know. But don't worry, we'll be back next year. Oh no, we won't. It was all pointless. By the time anything is back there with Trek or with Reed Pop Trek, the management at that Hyatt will have gone through 3 turnovers. And that could just be in 3 years. Oh, Dick, you just had that guilty face. That's sad. Did you have a big pro looking camera? If you just got your little, cell phone, you're fine. But if you've got some big kind of long lens and you're not sporting a press ribbon down in the press aisle. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Justin, I may need a week to recover. I've wanted to go to Planet Comic-Con, Kansas City. If you know anybody there, Justin, make sure and mention my name. Yeah. Guys, I got my second booster because of this travel here into Detroit at the end of the month, which I need to mention. Yeah, I got my second booster because it'd been 5 months since the first, and they start to wane after 3, apparently, is the last I saw. So I would love to come to Planet Comic-Con, Kansas City. I could drive over to Lawrence and see my 2-year master's alumni college. Okay, Beacom Hawks. Let's see what we got going. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I remember it. Okay, the correction. But no, not as high as this. I thought it just eked over. Could go back and look. Yes, Toddy, our flag means death is apparently taking the world by storm. I had not heard anything about it. This is, Glenn, this is kind of what it is. I think Bridgerton is more like Jane Austen era, updated, but it's a total romance. It's like an Outlander-ish thing. Mm-hmm. Discovery has finished first on both lists, but that was at the very beginning when all the hate mail was filling up the interwebs, I think. Yes. I do not know, Captain. I do not know. I do not know. Hey, Yez, it's good to see you. No, it's not Concrud. I went from 90 degrees LA to 40 degrees Chicago and didn't take my sinus stuff, and I let it gestate. So I kicked in my sinus cycle. See, and one day of that is, today the drip is gone. For a day, it's just a drip that I can't turn off. That was the day I was flying. So I was scaring everybody around me with 40 billion Kleenexes. So that was fun. Yep. At least it was a nonstop. I was on a one stop, none without having to make 2 planes. Well, John, you might have a long wait. At least the next year, although I'm sure they probably like New York. But there you go. No one's mentioned that. If they do, it'll be after they do the first season. I did get assaulted by the Prodigy writers. Did anybody see my... I look up and here's Dan Hageman saying, Larry, we love Cadet Ellis. We love your star maps. We use them every day. And I'm like, okay. They had followed me on Twitter. We never had any interaction. So only one of the Hageman brothers was there. The other was in Hawaii with his family. But Dan and Aaron Walke and then Bed Ebone were all there. And we had a nice talk. And they were taking pictures. And I got to, nothing recorded, but I did soak up a few things. That whole stretch out the seasons thing was kind of ridiculous. But they were just finishing the last episode of their second season, and they were assuming they'd get a third, but they hadn't heard anything exactly yet. But I'm thinking that there won't be any Blu-ray news until the first season is done with the second 10. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, con crud is the kind of fandom name for when everybody is in a hotel, especially if there is one person with a bug and it spreads from close contact, or if there's a bug in the hotel. Occasionally, the Rio has been famous for in Vegas, that kind of thing. Hmm. Haha, I disappeared so I could do some not pretty sneezing and throat clearing, just so you know. Oh, I'm sorry, Glenn. I hope it's straightened up. I hope it's straightened up. Let's see. Hi, Steve Price. Now, I know you've been with us before, Steve, so you're not a total newbie, but any reliable word on the street about European broadcasts for Strange New Worlds? Well, I'm thinking somebody else may have some update. One of our Europeans might. If they're tagging it to the Paramount Plus rollout, that's a good question, and I hadn't had my head into it. So we'll see what everybody else has. Right off the top of my head, no, I don't have an answer for you. Somebody else might. One of the Germans or the Europeans, one of the Germans or the Austrians might have word for us. And I'm not seeing Cairo here today. He may be traveling. I forgot what his travel plans were, but I did see him in Chicago. Tobias. No, I didn't have an EVC. Although the guys that had an an Archer era and the Picard era first contact suits were made a big hit walking around. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Pittsburgh reinstated, and I heard Philadelphia did. Is that what you mean? Or maybe it is Pittsburgh too. Yes. And meanwhile, there's war crimes in Ukraine on top of all that. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Jerry, the first time you went to LA, your eyes teared up and wouldn't stop. Yeah, it was probably something that you were allergic to that you didn't know that was didn't grow where you were from. And the minute you got there, you did. There's one thing out here that does that to me. When it blooms, it's the only allergy thing I have a problem with now in LA. Hey, Jim, right back at you. Hey there, Starfleet boy. Well, it was good to meet you too. There were a lot of reunions and first time meetups at that, so it was a cool weekend. There you go. JR, did I see you? Did we meet up? Did you come by our booth? I'm sorry if I'm blanking. Now I have to know, or if we took a pic, if we did a selfie or anything. Let's see. Captain Calvin. They removed the mask mandate in Germany too because they're stupid. No, the angry mobs were at the door. Well, that too. I'll tell you one thing, Glenn. I have never been pregnant in my life, and I chalk that up to clean living and no smoking, or maybe that's no living and clean smoking. I don't know. You got some splaining to do. Yeah, yeah. This was very weird, Stingray, who someday I may learn your actual name. Somebody came by Sunday morning and said, "Hey, did you hear about the whole name thing?" So they went with names. They were putting names on posters, and they went with the names that had been seen in probably looking at Memory Alpha, Memory Beta. Somebody doing it just went with names that had been in novels, figuring that was what was going to happen. So either they, yeah, well, oh, there's a whole thing with Ishmael. There's a whole historical, embarrassing, goofy. Oh, look, it was the 80s or 90s about Ishmael. But yeah. And then you have this people sentimental about Dorothy Fontana's joke first name for Spock that everybody took as serious. So yeah, either that was an actual thing or it was just a poster run amok. That somebody had a slot for a first name and they put it on the poster, or that actually is going to be the name and they wanted it to be revealed later and not just stuck on a poster because it started to cause a big sensation. I had forgotten about this. Uh, hmm, there we go. Yes. That's the business model. Sorry, I went to the Bahamas for a second. That is the business model. This is what we all said. And maybe eventually they'll train people to their way. But when people are trying to make plans on several levels, that's what they tried to say. But all along, they had people's guests sign and they didn't release it until the last minute. And there were a lot of last minute. That's the other thing. There were a lot of last minute people coming, fans that said, I just decided to do this a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And a lot of it was when they saw people on the bill. Because they think, apparently that's what they do with their Comic Cons and with Celebration for Star Wars. They think you're going to come because it's an event and it doesn't matter who the guests are. But it also might matter that you've got more than 4. And maybe that happens eventually, but on your first time out with most people, you got to kind of prove yourself before people are just going to trust you. But you're absolutely right, Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Norma is controlling. Okay, we're back to Norman again now, are we? Okay. That's the thing. It will be way better. It will be out of COVID more. People know how Reed Pop runs it. Seattle is not Chicago. It's May, not April. I mean, there's just all kinds of things. It's that downtown convention center, which is in a lot more fun, lively area than the ghost town around McCormick Center. Yes, there you go. Well, I think it's maybe this changes, Jerry, but I think it's supposed to be the annual big licensed con, like Vegas was the big annual licensed con. Now, if we look down the road 5-10 years and having nonstop, unending Star Trek every year has led to not just a new golden era, but a new platinum era or a total renaissance. And Star Trek is at a I mean, look at this. Even Star Wars and Marvel don't have big corporate licensed events through the year. Like they still have one big annual focused event. So that's probably what will happen. Now, Reed Pop may do smaller scale ones the way Creation would do smaller scale events that weren't trying to be Vegas and how they're branded and promoted. That might be a thing. We'll see. Uh, oh, sweet Mary, that's fine. Yep, that's good. And I saw the screen projected. I saw the grid wall in the Zoom meeting projected. It was so fun when I saw Gail there, and Joan Marie Verba. And but Gail Stever, I was talking about her things on the well, anyway, a lot of things. I didn't realize Mel had been with Sid since those 90s events. I was like, what were you, 12? Ah, Karen. Oh, you're moving from Seattle. Oh, Karen, it would be so cool to get back to the Six Arms. Hoping. Oh, Modesto has, yeah. Welcome to the Central Valley, huh? Okay. Wait, did Lolita have her own booth? Lolita had a signing booth? Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. Let me see here. Thank you for that information, JR. But still, you and I did not talk, or we did? Okay. Well, sometimes Sid's case, that wasn't comfortable. Nothing against the fan. He was very grateful that he found somebody he thought he could trust. But no, because you don't know. It's strangers. Sometimes being a fan might make it worse. Now, if it's somebody you know, somebody might be a fan, but you've known them for 10 years, and that's a whole thing. But it's not like it's their choice. That was the issue there. Oh no, we need an SNL convention. Yeah, where would that be? Oh, that would be in New York. Uh, Hi. Oh, hi, Scott. Sharon Hillier from Piece of the Action. Jay Jones, yes, composer. Oh no. Yeah, stunt background. Joanna Miles, parent. Okay. They're all going to be at Vegas. Is that what you're getting to, Scott? Oh, Hollywood Show Burbank this weekend. Constance Towers from The Forsaken. Okay, there you go. We just did. Everybody, if you are in SoCal, there's a Burbank Hollywood signing show this weekend, and Scott reps folks, and there you go. Boom, boom, boom. Tobias Mary. Tobias says he would tell you hi from Milwaukee. I mean, wait, you're in, yes. Now he's in Memphis, but it's the Facebook YouTube divide. So there you go. I just did it for you. Oh, Captain Calvin, you're so not in the States. Calvin Godfrey developed this persona where he was the weird old man that cringy look. Yeah, he would scrunch up his face. Well, it was very sweet. I met a lot of folks coming up, that people that know me from the Trek Files and nothing else, which is kind of awesome. A lot of people still knew the companion or the communicator. Stellar Cartography's kind of disappeared, but the showrunners know that, which is kind of cool. Hey, Sarge, good to see you today. Yay. Their first time ever. I wondered about Joanna Miles at times. Sharon Hillier is probably an elderly lady by now. That's cool. There you go. Their first time ever at Burbank this weekend. Wish. Oh, Mary, good deed for you, but you can understand why the promoters were what? No one in the staff had a car. That's very weird. Okay, but that's the thing. Yes, there you go, Lou. See, it's an instant hit. Fansets. Right. All they had was the Enterprise A for now, but they've got 7 or 8 more coming. The D is coming, and the Defiant's coming, and I forget what all. I think the new Stargazer from Picard is coming. Navigating a crowded parking structure with golden was. I can imagine. Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. Very good. I didn't see any of the actors this weekend. I didn't break out of my business and fan meetup routes. I'm wearing so many hats. But it was just different and off-putting, and nobody knew all the shortcuts. Oh, Carl, how would I compare Mission Chicago to FanX to Salt Lake Comic Con? Well, on one level, you can't, because one is all Star Trek and one is that. Salt Lake is just that big L, and you have to walk around for that. But I expect that at a Comic Con. I expect a Comic Con to be like a state fair. I never got back to my title this week. I meant that in a good way, but it just felt like, how a state fair has all the buildings laid out. That's the way Comic Cons are in those big convention centers, and even the Rio. And I bet Bally's won't feel that way too, because it's a hotel with facility space. The convention centers that are meant to be big and industrial with the high ceilings, it just goes there. It wasn't near as full and packed. There was a lot more attendance. What is Salt Lake? Is it 80,000? Yeah, there's not 80,000 people at Vegas, much less at that. So maybe, yeah, if you took maybe half the space of Salt Lake with 1/4 of the people, I don't know. That's a rough. If that's what you meant. Now, if you meant like quality wise, you can get to lots of food places within a block or two of the Salt Palace. Not so much with McCormick Place. I don't know if I answered your question, Carl, but there we go. All right, Steve. Well, my best ever con story, young Steve Myers, was the time after my project in college blew up that was supposed to be published. And I had a couple of so-called friends tracking down kids at dealer tables as we walked the dealer's room, picking up copies of the Star Trek maps, edging me in the side and saying, "Hey, Larry, show them your star." Oh, wait, that was you. Just pile on my humiliation and disappointment. Crush my little post-college fan hopes. Good to see you, Steve. I hope everything's safe and sane in Amarillo. Moot me no moot, girl. What is this now? Trek Culture did an ups and downs of season 2, episode 6, and the first thing they did was giving it down because of NSTs. Why is? Oh, did I mention the big new licensee NFTer was at Mission Chicago, and they had a prominent spot in the front, and they had some kind of a special effects show that you walk through, and somewhere along the way, I guess they had a pitch for NFTs or gave you a brochure or a QR code or something. And I think those in the know, a lot of people just thought it was a flashy thing to walk through, but a lot of folks in the know, it was just like persona non grata. It's becoming a hugely divisive thing. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But it feels like it's a big divide between people who get what it is and they don't want it, and people who have no clue and they are just, oh, what's this? I mean, as far as that booth went. And a lot of people swear by NFTs, but a lot of other folk are staying away, or they're disappointed that corporately Star Trek went there. So we will see. I did not even go through their little ride event thing. So we'll see. I cannot answer your questions, Captain Cowan. Somebody to make money. They threw a lot of money at. I don't think that Paramount needs the money, but somebody in sales somewhere could chalk it up on a chart. I don't know. Or they thought it's the next big thing. We'll see. Oh, hi, Stephen. I think we've talked before. Have you been with us on Tuesday before, Stephen? If this is your first time, I'm thinking maybe, but first time in a long time. Too bad you couldn't get there. You've got relatives in Chicago. Hopefully you will get to. I'd love to come back to FedCon again. I haven't been in. I just remember Barry, Admiral Ross. I didn't realize it'd be the last time I saw him. He died the next year, but we talked several times. We were booth mates. It was an interesting weekend. Yeah. What was that? 2017, maybe? 2016? Wow. Been a while. I'd love to come back to FedCon. Dirk. Let's see. They should go back to Dusseldorf. That was a convention hotel. Hey, Lou. There you go, everybody. Chicago felt like a Comic-Con. Las Vegas felt like a family reunion. Lou, do you think that's only because the ceilings aren't industrial? They're kind of high, but they're not high. I don't know. Because it literally was like you could walk up to that second floor to the snack bar and it was still open. So you had at least a 2-deck or a 3-deck high bay feeling in there. Oh, hey, and it's Joe. Wow. All the banners and signs were thrown away. You grabbed some fans to set up with some souvenirs. Total waste. Well, obviously, Reed Pop is not into the. They don't have the Adam and Gary creation. Let's autograph and auction these off. That would be way too much non-corporate, flowchart structured, whatever, waste of time. Because they have bigger fish to fry. Because they have the 13 trade shows across Asia. That's interesting. Wow. Yeah, all those banners trashed. Okay. But good to see you, Joe. Hope you got home safe, apparently. Hey, Helen. Mission New York was a disorganized disaster. This was not disorganized. See, that's what I thought about New York was. This was not disorganized. It was undersigned, and I think they expected more space. They expected all that empty space to be filled with more. And I think somewhere between COVID and only showing 4 or 5. Now, licensees would be on the inside track. And Reed's staffing lost people and turned over people for whatever reason. Captain Calvin. But if there's a chance, what's the best place to eat during the Great Bird of the Galaxy tour? Well, there's numerous places to eat. Right off the bat, if we don't eat at the Hollywood Roosevelt for some reason, I would take people down to Michelli's or Musso and Frank's. Why not have some Hollywood history? And they're just a few blocks down. But all of Hollywood and Highland is across the street. You've got high-end places and low-end places, chain places there. But I would say walk a few blocks, as in 5 or 6 blocks, 7 blocks, go down to Musso and Frank's or go down to Michelli's. That's what I would say. And that's what we might yet wind up doing. Hey, Fathery, you made it back to Austin, looks like. Yay. Okay. Here's a review endorsement for Everything All at Once on Sunday. Everything All at Once with Michelle Yeoh. There you go. There you go. LA Cruise, Seattle, and Vegas. Very true. Hey, Blaine. Good to see you. Yes. got to hear a lot more from a smaller group of folks. I wonder what exactly you mean. You mean like formally in panels, or do you mean just clumps of fans? I'm curious. But it was good to see you, Blaine. Did we selfie? It got to be a little bit of a blur after a while, but it was good to meet you. Yes. Ah, here you go. Women at Warp panel was during the disco panel, and it was still full. There you go. Yeah, Women at Warp was out in full blown. Uh-oh. Oh, thank you. You didn't hear my comeback, Steve. I'll tell you later. Yeah, I think that was the two big things. COVID and the slow rollout. But that wasn't slow. It was slow to the audience, but it wasn't slow to the Reed Pop business model, or so I'm told. Yeah, as once you found where the panels were upstairs and remembered that they were there. Oh no, JR. Okay, good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, JR. Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry. It's sinus. It goes right to the brain. Yes. But did we selfie though? Thank you, Karen. I intend to. I really feel fine inside. Time to buy stock in Claritin. Claritin is how I got the drip to stop, but the drip is not about yeah, exactly. The new Picard, you mean like season 2 or the whole show? But yes, you're in a big love fest with a lot of company for most of the time. Yep. Okay. Daniel, your criticism was the events could have been scheduled better instead of trying to overlap several shows and panels all at once. I know. And that's kind of a Comic-Con thing that you would think would try to avoid. When you have the huge, big showcase panels, which I hate calling them panels, the main room, the Prodigy, the lower decks, because there were filler things in between all those, but when all the shows had their spotlight hour, that's what they call it. They should call it the spotlight hour. David, you barely made it. We almost closed the doors. Yes. So tired. Oh, the 2015 STLV, we all got sick. See, I'm trying to remember that. I remember there was one STLV when the Rio about killed everybody. There was some kind of a bacterial outbreak. One of the towers, the tower that I don't stay in, I think. I could be. That's a story I should refresh on. And here's John coming in from text. What do you say? Legion Hair's disease. Oh, yes. Oh, so John is saying a lot of effort to get even lower level people to Phoenix Comic-Con due to budget limits. A lot of stars and agents aren't market flexible, and it ends up cutting them out of a lot of larger spaces like Phoenix. Guarantees for stars are pricey. Yeah. And scheduling against the main show is always a hassle because somebody's going to go. Those, well, Shatner sucked everybody out of the dealer's room. Well, what's going to be in a panel room opposite that? So there we go. Hello. Yeah. We're back into Con 101 here, everybody. Con management and production 101, anyway. Not con attendance 101. This is from the other side of the fence. Yes. Um, well, this is interesting. Section 31 might wind up being a movie rather than a series. With Michelle's big screen scheduling, she's kind of turning into the Whoopi there. Like, would they've ever done a Star Trek Guinan with back in the day when Whoopi's music career was booming? Yeah, getting these pieces here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, JR. Yeah, I'm going to be in Detroit in 2 weeks at Southfield at a little con called PenguaCon. That's a sci-fi / makers convention. And I don't have a sign. I need to make a sign. But it's going to be in Southfield. But if you look up PenguaCon, I'm one of the guests. It's going to be, I'm really excited because they're going to do a spotlight hour and interview me. But also from the standpoint, not just of Star Trek, but like the different ways fandom things happen and going from a fan to a pro and some of the things I did when I was a kid. And anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. Now, what are you saying here, Stephen? The good thing of the roaming con is that a lot of people only go if it's nearby. I don't really like Chicago, but I love to go see Dan Co in person. Hi here, if you're here, Dan. He is, hopefully still. A roaming con, is that what you call it? A roaming con versus what's the other alternative to aren't they all roaming cons? Yeah. And I had, after I knew what was happening, I didn't when I got off the plane, but once I knew what was going on, I was just trying to minimize. Going from heat to cold is what activates my sinus. If the hotel was chilly and then I went outside, that would be one thing. But going from heat to cold is the worst thing for my sinus, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you live somewhere where you don't ever have the difference. Either live at the North Pole or live in LA. But this, in the whole Midwest, heated house, cold outside, heated house, cold outside. I'm not a wimp about I'm fine. It's just what I have no control over what it's doing to my sinus. It's just my gene, but just my DNA, guys. It's just my genetics. It's like right now, I fine to go out in the cold. It's no big deal. But so I'm walking around with my hood up, looking like I'm some kind of a homeless, mentally ill person because it's not that cold, but it's the thing back and forth, and I didn't want to make it worse. Yes. Night of the Living Trekkies. Yep. Could be. Oh, and the other way around for you. In February, 21 in New Jersey versus 80s in Florida. That's funny. I don't know, Marina. I would much rather have that than the way I had to do, but I get you. Yeah, a contrast is a different. A shock to the system is a shock to the system, either way. But see, some people aren't hardwired that way. But I have this little tiny thin nose, and I probably have little tiny thin sinuses that don't have much buffer to them. There we go. Bing, bing, bing. From folks who know, no word on Strange New Worlds in Europe officially, legally, anyway. Mm-hmm. Shameless plug. Oh, yes. That was the last Harlan thing right before he died. And I've forgotten the company name, but I read a line or two in one of the audio plays. I was a transporter chief, but also I had an essay. There were a lot of people that had essays on Sitting on the Edge, and I read mine. Cairo is still in the U.S. Okay, and not joining us. Well, I must be way behind. Okay, wow, I am way behind. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm half hour behind. Yes. Let's see. Okay. Well, that's good, David. You know, I did a home test too last night. He's literally driving on Route 47. Actually, okay. Here you go. Thank you, Susan. No word from Sky TV in the UK as to when Paramount Plus is starting there. I thought it had been announced. I thought it was either May, June, or later in the fall. Somebody may have this. I don't have it top of mind. It hasn't been popping. I'm sorry. I had to get through Chicago first. Chicago, taxes, Detroit, trying to get Wrath of Khan back on track. Oh, there we go. Good sound. Oh, hi, Rose. You still remember the top chat? Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Okay. Yes, they put up whole new posters without the names on. And whatever the reason was, I was going to try to go track down Dayton, and I did not get a chance to. Let's see. Yep. Like the upside down airline stamp. Well, I don't know that you would have known in time to if you're talking about the big stand-up panels or whatever. This is what I mean. That's what I mean, Melanie. It's been a Fritz will. Although I met some fans who had a very other precise extramental. I always think of the X and then the wolf in the fold at the end there. Yes, Son of Sarek is much easier to say. This is what a lot of fans were using in the 70s and the 80s. Jeff Mandel's cast biographies would say that. What are you saying? Your second ever Trek Con, and you worked a table for your fanship, so you oh, okay. What? See, I didn't. I went to selective booths, and I didn't do a lot of walking around. It was only 3 days. That was the other weird thing. It was like, what? What is this? 3 days? Uh, uh, yeah. The only thing you have in Seattle is rain, rain, and more rain. Well, Captain Calvin, that was the point. That was the point. Okay, I have a lot of Seattle stories here. Yep, they're gonna go. Thank you, Lou. They're gonna go where they've got relations with the trade centers, with the convention centers. South, see, Reed is headquartered in Chicago, right? In Seattle. But yeah, what about the southern belt? See, I don't know, Miami, Houston, Nashville, somewhere down south, New Orleans. Yeah, I only saw Lolita like twice, and apparently she came by our booth on Sunday when I was maybe doing live journalism. Oh, okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. She was sitting at Connor and Dom's booths. Okay, very good. I was gonna say she usually doesn't do that unless people are really into it or whatever. All righty. Thank you for that. I haven't talked to her since. Wait, what? What? What are you answering, Christoph? Okay, I'm sorry, guys. This is not great video. What? Oh, Norman coordinate. Okay, very cute. Very cute. Very cute, Christoph. Some people are just way too smart for their own good. Okay. So here's the thing that gets me about this whole Spock's name. You can't pronounce it. Spock's not unusual, right? So everybody, Sarek. So, I mean, everybody else, his family or other Vulcans, to Paul, they all should, if they all have it. So, but Spock and Sarek, for starters, that's their given names that we use to talk about them, right? And we're back. Guess what I did? Here's the thing that's only dawned on me again. I've thought of this years ago. What is, say, Bajorans have name reversal, right? It's Kira Nerys. Nerys is her first name, her given name, her family name, her lineal name is Kira, right? Like Kira Naru, I forget the rest of her family's name. So Kira, people call her Major Kira. It's her, like they'd say, Captain Sisko, Major Kira. It's not her given name, her familial name, the name you would call people when you're really close to them. So if Spock and Sarek are the names people use to call them, if that's their given name, then the other name that no one knows of Spock, isn't that his lineal name? And if that's his lineal name, his family name, isn't that the same name Sarek has too? So once you know Spock's name, wouldn't that be Sarek's other name and Sybok's other name? I mean, that's what, if that people calling that first name, the unpronounceable one, if that's his first name, then what's Spock? I mean, there's that weird moment in Journey to Babel when McCoy calls Amanda Mrs. Sarek, but Sarek's not the family name, or else that would be part. Or do Vulcans just have a completely different naming concept than family name, and other name? I mean, Klingons and Vulcans both do with the whole son of bit, and probably some more if I'd stop to think about it. So I don't know. That's all. Has anyone ever thought of that? If Spock's other name, that's not his first name, given name, or do they have two given names, and the familial name is out there somewhere, or people just say son of and nobody? How do you track genealogy? You might say it's patriarchal, and you might want to go matriarchy, but that's why the paternal order goes down. That's tied up with status in a lot of societies. And maybe there's a matriarchal chain, but you got to have one or the other to track generations, or else you don't care about genealogy and tracking generations. And in so many cultures, the inheritance thing of family to family to family is wealth and power and real estate, and maybe in some cultures slaves. But whatever the family wealth is, it comes down a certain way. And who's the bastard that doesn't get in on that? And who. So that's why it's tracked. Whatever sexual, gender, cultural norm, however controversial or outmoded that is, happens. So how does that translate to the names on Vulcan? And last name first. I mean, that's interesting. Somebody may pop in here now and go, well, among the tribes of Tibet or something. I don't know. Oh, well, John is popping in here that the public name and the private family name, Spock is the name given to outsiders. The real name isn't discussed with off-worlders. A precedent in Earth cultures. Okay, Jonathan. I can't pop you in over here, so we'll see. See, I heard about this, Stephen. I don't like to talk about other moderators, or because it sounds like I'm commenting on something I do. But I heard a couple of people saying that some of the things that somebody was doing was off-putting. They have warm-up. Why do you think Why do you think Star Trek crowds need with our actors and our people, they need warm-up groups? They need a warm-up act? That's interesting. Yeah, Dave. Yes, I totally was not over there at all. They were running people. Their hotel was like 3 miles away, I heard. They were running back and forth. Marina, much higher attendance for Seattle. Yes. 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 She was with the Enterprise guys and they had no line. Oops. Yeah. Yes. Hey, Karen. Yes, it would, Larry Trek can answer some now. We just may have to stay in Seattle. Well, I mean, live your life, Karen. But it would be good to get up to Seattle. I'd given up on getting back to after Reed Pop bought out Emerald City and the fan group left. I'd given out being able to step in. Small scale is not really Reed Pop style. Well, see, that's exactly why I think the studio, why Paramount went with Reed Pop. They want to grow Star Trek official conventions into something bigger, and they probably look at creation and even showmasters as small potatoes for working in the U.S., and they think Reed will help grow the appearance of Star Trek's annual licensed official convention, where they're investing their official studio resources as attractions. We'll see. We will totally see. No, they use their own in-house people. No, Gilbert Gottfried had one voice persona. Jim Carrey was all over the map. Oh my God, Tobias. And today was with this filter over. Who will I do next week? I don't know, but we're taking suggestions from the audience. Oh, David, you got one of the stand ships. Cool. What are you saying here, Stingray? A pass by of the old defunct Viacom Chicago store to the fans. No, wait, I didn't get around anything in Chicago. Did I buy the McCoy cookie jar they sold? There's a video of the place opening on YouTube. I just remember everybody at Paramount in licensing laughing at how Viacom was calling it like Viacom is not a warm, fuzzy brand. Why did they not call it the Paramount store and use the mountain? Viacom is some cold. It was all about Sumner Redstone's ego. When I think of Viacom, I thought of old Andy Griffith reruns because the Viacom thing would be at the end. That's what I associate Viacom with. It's sure not Star Trek or anything into the future or cool store stuff. Anyway. Well, it may have been sitting flat. That's too bad, Glenn. Oh, on the website. It may be so new that they don't have it on the website yet. Maybe because they only had one in stock now. So hang on. If Lou is still around, there you go. Boom. Stay tuned. See? Breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. Welcome to Trekland Tuesdays Live. Yes. There we go. Boom. There you go. Thank you, Lou, for hanging in all this time. Wow. And some folks heard. There we go. There we go. See, we have such great communication. We're asking the hard questions and getting answers. Well, Captain Calvin, what you're saying here is what San Diego Comic-Con is turning into. They have panels at the Central Library now, and they have panels at a theater. Things are like 2 blocks away and 6 blocks away, and it's really hard. For a while, the last 2 or 3 live San Diegos, they had all the podcast panels at the Central Library, and you have to even like convince people in the main drag to come over that way. It's only about a 15-minute walk, but you've got to get people over there at a place where nobody is. At most, they might be pedicabbing, people jump in like a rickshaw, only it's a bike. I hate to say this. NFTs are this generation's version of vaporware. Well, we'll see. Emery didn't go anywhere near the NFT thing. It's sketchy. I know. What? Lou, we're talking about the NFT bunch. Continuum. See, Continuum to me, I meant to get an old Continuum. Continuum was the original name of StarTrek.com when it was under Microsoft. They did $2 million in sales in 2 hours online. See, it was the people that weren't at the convention. They're sitting at home. Yeah, there you go. It was a big divide. Sunday chat with folks at the Marriott bar revealed that. What are we talking about, David? This sounds interesting. What are you talking about being a big divide? Are we talking about the NFT thing? Beyond that, you have no comment. And 80,000 in their trade group with people reselling them. Okay. Over 400,000 in royalties in 120 minutes. Why do I feel like I should be getting a what caused the 08 crash? I've wiped it from my mind. At least the production values were miles ahead of DST. Very true. Very true. Yeah, if people knew to do it. It's funny. Well, Diana, it's about damn time. Let's see. Oh. Mortgage-backed securities? Is that what it was called? I thought it was something else. Yes. Okay. Bad mortgage. I thought there was a specific name for it. Okay. Yes. Musso and Frank's has the best steaks, and it's about the last place that has old school, pre-glam Hollywood, the old original 20s and 30s Hollywood. Yes. Okay. Wow, I'm so far behind the chat, guys. All the $250 NFTs were sold out in 4 minutes. Okay, fine. Oh dear. Thank you, Diana. Singular. It's not allergies. It's sinus. It's sinus cycle. And I'm on the back. Guys, I'm on the down. It always sounds worst. I was croaking internally, but I didn't sound that bad over the weekend. And today, I feel better inside. My mechanics feel better, but apparently it sounds worse. But I'm on the downhill side. This will be gone in a couple of days. Ben, this is the theory. I have to check back with them. I know I'm an Industrial Pro guest. I want to make sure that means I'm actually a guest and not I have a table available. Hey, Andrew, you always make it close to the end. Well, and I seem to get started later and later every time. And hey, Linda, good to see you last weekend. You can scroll back or whatever and read your thoughts about the Chicago mission. Let's see. Dave, are you going to be there? That'll be interesting. I'm not expecting to know anybody because of no one came to. Who was it I talked to this? Who was it I talked to this weekend that actually came to one of the library tour shows? Ooh, it wasn't anybody here, was it? See, I'm gonna be going blank. It's gonna take me 3 different times to stick. Was I about to say genes with my open? Oh, I was trying to decide whether to say DNA or genes. I can say genes. James, is that what you want? Yep. See, I always laugh because they say Chicago is the windy city, but it's only windy because the wind comes off the lake and then gets in between the tall buildings. Oklahoma, it's like built up in the Dakotas and comes straight down the plains, and it goes and goes and goes for a whole day. And I, being a little kid on the playground and having the red dirt blow in your face, swallowing dirt, yeah, unless you turn south. There's a reason why no one would ever build a front door on your house on the north side. It's even if your house faced north, you would find an excuse or porches and alcoves. Yeah, Penguicon is not a big deal author actor thing. It's sci-fi, maybe some authors. I haven't looked at the other guests, but it's a makers thing. So there you go. It's going in and out from heat to cold, back and forth. And your sinuses are doing this. But I didn't know that when I was a kid. I thought allergies and sinus were all the same thing. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you. You are here at 035. Woo! Some known people voicing the animated characters. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know any. You mean stars, not known voice stars? I'm not sure. You guys, it's so long when you're talking to each other. I'm not sure. Like Karen, I'm not sure what Marina was saying, and if I back scroll, it takes more time. So I'll just, if it's important, I'll let you all update it. You just love saying shit at the guy Spock. Shit at the guy Spock. Atlanta. I hear Atlanta has some success with conventions. Detroit City. Could be. Could be. The Bajorans or the Bavarians of space. That's the Hinterhuber France. In that blackout, Ethan Peck showed up and told her it was, and then left, retracted. Yes, exactly. Or redacted. What are you saying, Marie? Unless the Vulcans have last names like some of the traditional last names in Iceland, where the name changes depending on your father's name and whether you're a son or a daughter. Yeah. His first name is not Phil. His first name is Agent. Well, people said Commander Spock. Yep. This is true. Spock the half-human. All right, Glenn, you run away to another broadcast. Okay, here's the news. Here's the news fresh from Christoph. Paramount Plus. Let's see, the UK in summer 2022. Other European countries, end of 2022. I want to say that summer is June 1st or July 1st. So there we go. Yes, you would be Trekless in Seattle, Carl. Very funny. Very good. Very good. Let's see. Ooh, Jerry, I think you have a collectible. I'd like to see it. I'd like to have a picture of it sometime. Does it have a Viacom tag in it somewhere or branded there on the side? I bought this at the Viacom store, Chicago. That was the prototype store, which never spread because it closed. They had those huge figures made for it that all went to Vegas to the experience. This is interesting, Jerry. Not being a local, I would not have known, but maybe somebody else does. I think that 20 miles away? Wow. 20 miles away? Kearney Mesa? Wow. That's insane. That beats my whole 6 blocks away sadness big time. Okay. I need to tell everybody, by the way, that as of a few hours ago, I'm going to be on the 7th rule tonight in a couple of hours. Wait, oops. When does that start? In 45 minutes? What am I supposed to be? Yikes. Where did we do this? Oh, come on. Messenger. Boom. Yeah. So I guess in an hour, I'm going to be on the 7th rule. And checking in 45 minutes. I've got to have dinner before then. I'm starving. Okay, so this is residential mortgage-backed securities. I thought there was a dicey name. Was it unsecured? I thought there was a short, spicy name that would always be. William, yes, I had a lot of fun in Chicago. It was way too fast. It sped by. And part of the reason it sped by was because we were all kind of like this. Felt like half of your energy went into trying to find someplace that was open to go eat, much less drink. That was part of the issue. And you were walking from somewhere, and from your room to where you were, you had to plan the whole day in a location that you didn't know how to plan for. That was kind of what was exhausting. But don't worry, I'll know what I'm doing next year. Oh, wait, we're not going back next year. Okay. Let's wrap this up. Only the Hall H. Well, the smaller rooms. Sadly, we only had about 300 seats when I had Robert Butler live. And we actually turned people away from that. It's my first turned people away Comic-Con San Diego moment. Yep. Let's see. Okay. Yes, Anne Marie, the main viewer. There we go. 8 Eastern. So it's, it's 7 Eastern now, isn't it? It sure is. Okay. Credit default swaps. Maybe that's what I'm thinking about, Stingray. Anyway, there we go. Let's call it the end of the chat there so I can go eat. But just so everybody knows, there, I've gotten rid of that. Just a real quick reminder that, where'd you go? You should go check. The price is not up, but you can go check out the description for the Exploring Trek sites. Go to Geek Nation Tours up there at the top. GeekNationTours.com. It's coming. It'll be priced very quickly. We've been talking about it. Had a banner and everything. If you're going to Vegas the day before, you can jump in with us at Geek Nation Tours. I'll be leading this. A one-day tour. We've gone several times out to the film site for Kirk, also to some other funky Star Trek things you're not expecting, including the Killer Bridge, nowhere near where they filmed, which is part of the funkiness of it. And then we'll even go over to Voyager Rock. That's this Wednesday, August 24th, the day of Con Eve. We leave early. We'll get back at 2, so you'll have plenty of time for the landing party, which we have to figure out how we're going to do that this year because we're not at Masquerade. It'll be sad. But the weekend before that, maybe you combine them, maybe you don't care. I am offering, as a Trekland Trek, a special Gene Roddenberry Centennial Great Birds History Tour, 2 days around LA, August 20th and 21st. We'll be checking out the places, the life that led to Star Trek, where Gene grew up, the places he worked, places he hung out, places he was married, places he was married again, where he lived. That's going to be awesome. I do have a page up. It's not quite finished, but most of it's complete. You can click on my LarryNemechek.com, go up to the top right. I have to add more, but for right now, there is a link at the very top. Coming to LA, go see the Roddenberry tour in August. That's up there. Otherwise, everybody, thanks so much for being here again. A shout out once again to our Patreon folk. If you want to jump in and do the Patreon, help me out. It's $5 and $10. Very simple. Patreon.com/Trekland Live, as we keep trying to expand the live stream. Best thing you can do, though, is talk it up, like and subscribe on YouTube. That's the main one. But, share the love around Instagram as well, or, sharing around what we're doing here. It is at Larry Nemechek on Twitter, Larry Nemechek's Trekland, as you can see, on YouTube and Facebook. I don't even promote the Twitch because it's just odd right now still. I have to figure out what we're doing with Twitch now that Life Support Live is over, but I'm leaving it turned on for now. Portal47.net. A lot of the portales were here. Some of them were even in Chicago. We had a live dive without booze, which was weird, without food, which was even weirder. So jump in if you like the way I do Star Trek and the way I look at it, try to explain it, and especially the people that we try to bring to the table that you've never heard from. Check out portal47.net. And I should mention that, yes, there is a new Trek Files up this week. We got to get some more made. I'm a little croaky from the con, you can hear, but Ralph Sininsky's amazing, and to hear him talk about Nimoy and Shatner fighting the inclusion of the IDIC pin in Is There in Truth No Beauty is a lot of fun. And what Ralph did very smartly so he wouldn't lose time. And why getting fired from the Tholian Web is all the more poignant. That's Trek Files this week. Otherwise, this is me getting out of here this week. It was so great to see everybody. So much food for thought going forward. Oh, yeah, those Star Trek shows are happening. But this whole thing about the convention and fan experience and what Reed Pop's going to be doing and what Vegas is going to, and Creation's still going to be doing, and the room for all the mini cons and the regional cons of whatever stripe they are, like PenguaCon, where I will be the end of April down in Detroit. I think it's penguacon.com or penguacon.org, but that's just down on April 22nd. Oh, 89er Day. April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Southfield. It's been around for many years. I was the guest in 2020 and kept over for 3 years or whatever until they could go live again. So maybe I'll see some of you in Detroit in a couple of weeks. That'll be interesting. Meanwhile, everybody, it's been great to have you here today. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'll see you in about an hour on the big viewer. What is it called? Yikes. The main viewer. They're going to shoot me. The main viewer from Seventh Rule in an hour over there, talking about Chicago too. Maybe some different perspectives as well. All right, everybody, that's it. Till we meet again. Stay healthy. Do all the things. Please. Stay woke. Check your sources. And trek well, everybody.